Hello everyone, this is a tutorial with regards to colorization of a black and white image. As you all know, there are many ways of colorizing, but this is my preferred method along with tinting. I feel it gives me a more natural look. The method I use involves a source image, primarily for skin tone colors. I find it gives me a lot more colours and a variety of different shades. So without further ado, let's get started. This is the particular image I'm going to be using. It's a picture of Marlene and Dietrich, and this was the original image, and as you can see it has clearly a big hot spot right on the top of her forehead and a few distractions just outside here. So I just cleaned it up as best I could, and I did it with the healing brush, and this was the final image after cleaning up. So why don't we just get started? The first thing I do is to check that the image is in RGB mode. Image mode RGB, and I generally use 8 bits, but as this is my daughter's computer and it's at 16-bit, I'm going to leave it there. I then go image adjustments and desaturate. That ensures all the colour has gone out of the original black and white. So the first thing I do is make a selection of her face and then use a source image to get the skin tones. So the fourth icon down, and just make a selection of her face, just like so. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate, and might as well go down onto the under the chin and so. So something like that. Then hit Control J to put it onto its own layer. The next thing is to get the source file that I'm going to use. And I'm going to use the original one that I first done back about 6 months ago. Normally I would use this one, but this is the one I'm going to use, as I'll explain it in more detail as I go along. And just drag it down and drag it into the image. Okay, and I just line her up with her face, and I do that with the eyes mostly, nose and lips. Again, you don't have to be 100% accurate with this, because all we want is the skin tone colours. Now to see it better, just reduce the opacity down to around 50%, and again, it doesn't have to be accurate, just rough. Click OK, and then go to Edit, Puppet Warp. In Puppet Warp you usually see the mesh like this. I usually turn it off, and the only other thing you need to know is under normal it has more points, so if you need more points, just go up to normal and click on more points. Then click on the iris of the eye on this one, and I also click on the corners just to hold her in place. I don't need to use one for the nose, as the nose is lined up almost perfectly, but I hold her in place nonetheless by clicking on both nostrils. Then another point, and just move the lip colour down more or less over the original lips of Marlene, like so. Again, it doesn't have to be 100% accurate. Then click the check icon box up here, and then click over here. And then we go, whilst on the same layer, click on normal and go down to color, and then increase the color, the opacity back up. At this moment in time I get rid of all the colors I don't actually want, so I use the eraser tool and just go around the edges. And if you go in under the skin tone, it doesn't matter because we'll get it back. But get rid of all the bluish tones and over the hair. Just make sure all those blue tones are gone. Now, to get back the rest of the skin tones, go into the clone stamp tool and simply clone it. Hold down the Alt key and just simply go around and clone the rest of the skin tone back in. Don't go too close to the hair. Go as close as you can, but don't go in and onto the hair. And just continue in this vein all the way around. Very therapeutic, this. And don't forget the ear. And just above our eyes there, we need to put a bit more in. And then you can clean up just under the lips. That way you don't have to be 100% accurate with the original. And the same on the lips. And then we'll bring some skin tone down here. I wish I had my own computer. This feels strange. So just take your time when you're doing this part. It saves you an awful lot of work in the end. One of the main reasons why I like doing it this way is because of all the various shades of the main colours. So we say you have a pinkish colour, a pink colour there, well then it has a variety of shades of that pink as well. You don't see them with the naked eye, of course, until it comes to the very end when you see the difference in the skin, the way it appears. And I generally go for that, what's known as the natural look. That's the reason why I do it this way. Okay, let's say that's okay. Let's just make sure here. We got all the main part in. Okay, up around the edge of the hair, I generally bring it down to 20 to 25%, somewhere around there, and then just dab around at the edges of the hair. That way, not too much colour goes in. Because as we all know, there is skin tone colour underneath the hair. And I'm just gently dabbing all the way around at the top where our hair comes down into the forehead. And you'll find that I'll also do this when it comes to hair. Okay, at this stage I go back onto the source layer. No, I stay on the original top layer, and I use the eraser tool on our eyes because I like to do the eyes individually. So the eraser tool, and I want to get any colour that's there. There's a certain amount of colour in there. I like to put my own colour in. Okay. Now, at this stage, we make a duplicate. We actually reduce the opacity of this layer. We'll call this colour, and we'll call this source, so we don't get mixed up. We now make a copy of the colour there. And we change this to soft light. And this is where a lot of people freak out. On the soft light layer, we go up to change the blend mode to soft light, like as you can see when you go down. So we change it to soft light, and even then you'll see all the blotches, but that's the norm. All you need to do is go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and it's usually anywhere from 4 up to 12. I'm going to use probably around 6. Just preview that. That's okay. So I'll leave it at 6. At this stage, I go back to the source image and go up to Image, Adjustments, Brightness and Contrast. I bring the contrast up somewhere to around 30. 30, and then down to minus 8. Okay. Go back to the top layer, soft light layer, and then go in hue and saturation and clip it down onto the soft light layer by clicking this icon here. Now this is where you start playing around and to see what colours are actually going to come through. So I'm going to go the opposite way. I think it's +6 and -6. I used the last time. Somewhere around there. And click OK. At this stage, I actually merge that down onto the soft light layer. Now I go in and I do the lips first, then the eyes. So we go down to the adjustment layer here and select solid color, and I'm going with color her lips. I just click on any red colour here, because we're going to be changing it anyway. And let me see, I'm pretty sure I use soft light for this. Yeah, soft light. And click on the mask, Control I to flip it, and just zoom in onto the lips. So now that I have this colour here, to get into the ballpark, I always use a hex code. So I'm going to double click on it, and I'm going to put that hex code number in. That gets me into the ballpark. And the hex code number I use is 612424. And that gets me into the ballpark. I can come back and adjust this at any time I want. Make sure you're on the mask and it's a white brush. And somewhere around there. Now when I'm changing the colour and I want to see what colour I want, I always look at it in 100%. And you can go back in onto the red and then just move around to whichever colour you want. I'm actually going to leave it there. Now we go in onto the eyes. And again, an adjustment layer, solid colour, and her eyes, I think, were greyish blue. Again, I'm going to put in a hex code though before I actually pick that colour. 18356B, and click OK. Click on the mask, Control I, and then again white brush. And the mode I'm going to use for this is Colour Dodge, to get a bit of a sparkle in her eye. Bring it out to around 100%, and we'll click on the blue again, and let's see. I'm actually, I don't know, it would, don't know to that. I'm going to go with that. Okay, our next protocol now is the hair. So again, another solid colour adjustment layer, and I'm going to type in the hex code again to get me close to the colour that I'm looking for. That's A99373. Go OK. Click on the mask, Control I. And we're going to use soft light for the hair. Again, the colour doesn't really matter at this stage because we're going to tweak it even more. Now, when you're painting in hair, most important thing for me, and anyway, is not to go to the outside or to the inside. Stay as close to the edges as you possibly can without going over. So let's just get the colour in anyway. So again, I'm just going as close to the edge as I possibly can. I don't want 100% colour on the edges at all. And now I'm going to reduce the opacity down to around 25, 20, 25, anywhere in that number, and any will do. And then I just dab. I don't brush, I just simply dab. Because the hair colour on the outside is always slightly lighter and less conspicuous. So it's only a tiny amount of colour you want. Again, take your time when you're doing this. I'm rushing this, but you'll get the general idea. I would take a lot longer. Just continually go around dabbing, dabbing, dabbing. Could make a song out of that. Dabbing, dabbing, dabbing. Hallelujah. Most people would actually use the blur tool, one of the blur tools in the filters, to try and get try to get this better, more or less. Well, I'm going to use a different option. I'm going to use blend diff. I'll show you how to do it now. Again, I'm just dabbing on the outside. Okay, let's zoom out a little. I find it's very important when you're doing colorizing is to actually zoom out, go at it 100% and have a look at it as a 100%. You see more flaws at 100%. Well, I do. Okay. To get the blend diff, there's a couple of ways to do it. You can click on the FX, special effects one down here, or you can double click in this clear space on the top, on the layer you're working on. So we'll double click on the clear space and it should bring up the layer style blending box. Okay, the one we're interested in is this layer. You could actually play around with the blend diffs. It's grey, and you have also RGB in here as well. Red, green and blue. They represent all the channels. But we're going to leave it on the grey for this. And all we're going to do is hold down the Alt key. If you pull that all the way across, the hair goes. But we want to blend in. So we're going to hold down the Alt key, click on this and pull it apart, and I think it's okay. I've done something wrong here. Okay, we'll cancel out of that. Do it again. And I go to 177. I'm going to go up to 170 and click OK. Okay, good. I'm going to color her dress, and again, solid color adjustment layer. And for this, I'm going to use the hex code 2E3F7F. And again, click on the mask, Control I, and the blend mode I'm going to use for this is soft light. And make sure your brush is white and you're on the brush tool, of course, and your opacity is back up to 100%. And just put in the color. Again, we can change the color to whatever, whenever. I'm struggling with my daughter's Wacom tablet. Oh my god. I have mine set up in a completely different. You'll have to forgive me. And I'm afraid to go in and change any of her settings, like, you know. Now, that'll do for the time being. Okay, what I do here now when I want to make sure that it's kind of blending in a bit, I'll double click on the mask. Make sure you're on the mask and double click. It brings up a properties dialog box, and I use the feather option and just simply slide it across. And I'm going to go at 30. Okay. You can change the color, double click on it and spread it around all you want to get whatever color you want. Okay. Or you can change the color from here. And I'm going to go for something like that. And click OK. Now comes the fun part. I'm going to go back into the source image and into the source image and going to go to the sharpen tool, and I'm going to lightly sharpen certain parts of the image around the outside of the hair I leave the strength at 40%, around 40%, and just go around the edge of the hair. And certain parts, you see where the wave is. And they also do the eyes, especially the iris. The nostrils. And the corner of our lips. I don't go over our lips, I just go on the corner. Just like so. Okay, now comes the fun part. Click on the very top layer and then hold down Shift, Control, Alt and E, and that creates a stamp visible layer. On the stamp visible layer we go to another selective color adjustment layer. The default colors is red. Click on there and go down to whites, and then we use the yellow slider, and keep your eye on our skin tones as you're doing it. Just drag it to the left. And I'm going to around -30. Before and after. And I think I have enough of the skin changing there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge that down, and then going to go in and go to Filter, the Nick Collection, Color Effects Pro, and use the tonal contrast. This is certainly not set up the way I have mine. Anyway. And that'll be alright. In the tonal contrast you have 4 options, you have 4 algorithms really. You have standard, and then you have high pass, which I use quite frequently, fine, balanced, and then you have the really strong one. I think I may use the high pass one on this, and that's way too much. I just click OK and then reduce it. So I'm going to reduce it down to around 40%. To do that the quickest way, as opposed to wanging the slider left and right, just hit the V on your keyboard and then type in the number of you want. I'm actually going to go down to 40. So 40%. Just have a quick look and save that. Yeah, around 40%. And then the final thing I do, hue saturation, and I reduce the saturation by probably anywhere from 4 up to about 10. I think on this one I'm going to go to -8. And this is there before, and this is there after. I'm going to crop it. I don't know, something like that. Maybe not. Don't know why she has it at all. Let's go unconstrained. Let's go with that. Okay, So that's primarily the way I do it, and anyway, depends on the resolution of the image as well, how good the image is going to be. I would say anything from 2000 by 2000 pixels, you're going to get reasonably good results. Below that, well, you're going to struggle. But anyway, there's your before, there's your after. If you can do this on this particular image, you'll be able to do it on any black and white image. So that's it, guys. Be safe, and until the next time, take care and God bless. Bye.